people need a little breather from what has been an interesting first month of the season. So I, for one, am very much embracing the bye week and the relaxation that comes with it, and without the pressure of another immediate game week and what's Notre Dame going to do or not do or look like or not look like. So I, for one, am embracing the bye week, and it looks like the people in the chat are as well. But I have some very specific questions for you as we enter this bye week, and some of them are very Notre Dame-y, some of the questions I have, and some common themes over the years that I have as well. Call in line 312-900-8815. Jump in. Let me know where you're at, where you think Notre Dame's at, how you assess them at the bye, what you want to see them work on at the bye and be better at against BYU, all of that. That's what the bye week's for. Sit back with a little less pressure and analyze where we think we're at, where we want to go, and why we're at where we're at. So that's going to be the idea today. A little more relaxed, a little chill, and we're going to go from there. So thanks, everybody, for being here. Do subscribe on YouTube if you haven't yet. Appreciate it. Give the video a thumbs up, notifications on so you don't miss anything. Twitter, search bar, always Irish, always Irish Inc. Emails, always irishnd@gmail.com. Audio only. Anywhere you want me, you can get me, except on these. So I don't know why I say it here. They're too long for me to dub over into MP3 in the software I use. They won't let me do 2 hours or whatever these end up being. So the shorter version ones you could get on MP3. The longer ones you got to listen through YouTube. Fighting Irish Wire. I'm telling all you guys, they have good stuff. It isn't just about John's over at USA Today Fighting Irish Wire. Let's go look at his stuff. Everybody on the site contributes from a slightly different angle, and it's wonderful. I told you before, I'm going to post all my articles in the community tab here, all of my articles that I publish. If they relate to a video, they're going to be linked in the description in the comments so you could get it both ways. I think that's a super interesting way to consume Notre Dame media. See what it's like when you see it and hear it, and then also read something similar, tie the two together. Make sure you check that out, folks. Also, everybody in Florida or anywhere down south, please stay safe. Please stay safe. I know it's getting dangerous out there. My brothers in South Florida sent me a picture saying the road's flooded out. So good luck to everybody down there. Everybody stay safe, okay? I'm going to tell you this right now. The way I am, I'm a worrier, you guys. All I do is worry. I wake up and worry, and if everything's good, I'll find something to worry about. Living in Florida, a hurricane coming, me sitting in 90 hours of traffic to get out of the state. I don't know if I'm made for that, okay? I don't know if that Florida life, I don't know if I'm about that Florida life that much. To be able to deal with that and have the patience. That's a skill set I'm not sure that I have. Okay, so thanks to everybody in the chat. I see Kent's here. I love you, Kent. Thanks for being here. Mikey Poles, Chris Totten, Notre Dame 2164, Josh Miller, Patrick. A lot of regulars. I appreciate all of you. Phone lines are up. 312-900-8815. I want to know where you're at, how you feel, how you analyze the first half. Here, of course, you could call Tyler Reese, 312-900-8815. Of course, you could call. Dial it up. Here's the other really interesting thing. This is really interesting. It's one thing to look at like the team and be like, well, you know, the offense, I wish it wasn't that bad to begin the year. Obviously, we all agree with that. You know what's a lot harder? Asking yourself what kind of job Marcus has done so far. I was thinking about it, and it's very, very hard. There's just a lot of nuance to the beginning of the Freeman era and a lot of circumstantial stuff that made life harder on him. How do you cut through all that and decide what's Marcus and what was left over from before that he has to deal with? Or Are you of the mindset, as some people are, that if you're the head coach, it's all on you now? So you figure it out, and you can't blame Kelly for the roster or whatever. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. But it's a little complicated. So, all right, we got a couple phone calls. I'm going to get to those early today, and we're going to go from there. This show may be a little shorter than some others. I do have some business to take care of. It is related to Always Irish, though, so be encouraged. I got some things I need to take care of. Okay, we're going to go right to the calls early. And I'm going to go 612 talking to you first. And I know who this is. And John told me that I kept him on hold too long last week and that he was too old for it. And he asked for the senior line skipping discount. We're going to give it to him. That's what you get. 612, what do you want to do?
Hey, good morning, John.
How are you? I made good on my promise, Dr. John. I'm not making you wait today. You're the first one up, and I didn't want your arm to get tired holding up that phone, baby.
Oh, I appreciate it. I'm back on my deck here in Livingston, Montana. And, I was at the Cal game. But anyway, I'm a little disappointed. I don't want to throw anybody in your household under the bus, but you remember last time I gave you a prescription for some meditation therapy,
some breathing, some breathing
and
techniques.
it got back to me that but you didn't do it, and that's what's concerned me. But because of that, I'm going to skip therapy. I'm actually going to talk some Notre Dame football. Okay.
All right. What do you make of this at the bye?
Okay. The North Carolina game, the offense, I think, well, we all saw it come alive. And I don't know. I'm not so critical of Tommy. Maybe it's just the thing that we've got a little more experience going. He was able to open up the playbook. I hope that's what it is. Because if that's true, we got a week to rest, get injuries healed, and then if we can dominate BYU in Vegas, I will be back in that belief that we might have a pretty good year.
Yeah, BYU ends up being a big turning point there. You ripped off a couple wins, and then if you could get BYU, then you have that Stanford UNLV run both at home, building you a bridge to a big matchup with Syracuse, who I believe still undefeated now. That's your path. And I don't know if we're getting ahead of ourselves for thinking we could travel it. Like, is that realistic? Do you think you could trust that level of play we saw more against North Carolina? Or are you scared we could regress week to week?
Well, I'm always scared. I'm like you. I'm always scared. But
you got to be. You got to protect yourself, John. You got to protect yourself. I'm always open to something bad dropping on me. I'm always prepared for that.
Hey, my body is so scarred with Notre Dame losses. It's hard to find a spot that isn't.
But you know what, John? You've been around long enough. You've seen some good times too, though. You got to understand, I was 4 the last time we won. You have the scar tissue, but at least you have a trophy case in your memory too.
Well, I do. Speaking of that, I know you're going to the Stanford game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I think you mentioned that's a 77 team reunion game.
Yep. The 77 team is having their official championship reunion, and I'm going to be in the mix. So I'm very much excited to seeing those guys. Real champions on the campus of Notre Dame. I love it. I can't wait.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was in the stadium that day with my dad and my brothers. And it was one of the few times I made a prediction after the game that came true. I said, we're having a beer. And I said, gentlemen, we play Texas for the national championship in the Cotton Bowl. Now, and that one came true. I wish my investment projections had come true like that. But
yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to email you a picture from something from that game, and you could do what you want with it. But anyway, back to the North Carolina game. You mentioned this too, that we missed that touchdown pass. I think it was to Styles, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the one we missed?
Yeah.
I think so. Anyway, it took me back to 86. Well, you were about 2 years old. And
not about exactly 2 years old. You're right on it.
All right.
Yeah, you're right on it. Literally.
So you probably don't remember that game then. But anyway, we're trailing Southern Cal by 2 points, I think. We call timeout. No, there's going to be no time left on the clock after this field goal try. We call timeout. CBS is in a commercial when he kicks it.
Oh man,
we don't see it.
Oh my gosh,
man! When we miss that touchdown, that's the first thing I thought of.
John, I couldn't believe it. Anyway, it's the most exciting offensive play we've had all year. It was beautiful. You had the misdirection, the fake handoff, all the defense going one way. Our guy goes. It had everything you've been begging for all year as a Notre Dame fan, and then ABC misses it. I just couldn't get over that. It was so perfect of how things go. The most exciting play, and we didn't even get it. They didn't even do it right on the replay coming back after commercial. They didn't even nail it.
Well, I'm not big on conspiracy theories, but I started thinking that missed play and then this missed field goal back in '86. And Southern Cal has this great film school. A lot of these TV directors come out of USC. And it might have been deliberate. I'm not sure about that.
There you go. See, they got a USC grad at the switch, with one of those big Trojan gold helmets on in the trailer in the parking lot, waiting to switch it. Notre Dame's going to do some good. Move that camera. Get it out of here.
Hey, don't feed my conspiracy theory.
Hey, John, I don't put anything past Hollyweird. Anything's possible out that way. I don't put anything past it at all.
Absolutely. One more thing, John, I'm gonna let you go.
Sure.
I hope you get your merchandising going. I'm buying into 4 beer glasses right now and an Always Irish t-shirt as soon as they're up and running, okay?
John, I might have to send you one for free, my man. You've been here since the beginning. I might put together a little care package and send it to you with some items when I get it all going.
Okay, I would love that. And the last thing I'm going to send you that picture later today or tomorrow, and you can do with it what you would like.
Beautiful.
Okay?
Now, can I ask you one question on the way out?
Absolutely.
Here's the question. What letter grade do you give Marcus Freeman as he sits in his first bye week as Notre Dame's head coach? It's tough.
Ooh.
Yep.
I'm gonna give him a B-.
John, I've been struggling with it too because there's so many factors to consider. It's not an easy answer. And I kind of ended up kind of where you are. It's not the easiest thing to answer.
No, but coming back from those opening 2 losses, okay, we struggled against Cal, but we looked really good, I thought, against North Carolina. And the thing is, what's so tough to grade the man is the way you feel about him in the first place.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's tough to be objective.
Yeah.
But I
I was always accused of doing that and operating that way. But in the inverse, because I started not liking what Kelly was doing and saw that it was never going to get any better than where it was. And so then now I'm on the other side of it. People said I was too hard on Kelly the whole time. And now they're saying, because I love Marcus's personality so much, that I give him a pass too much. So I can't win, John. I was too far glass half empty on the last guy. Now I'm too far glass half full. I can't win.
Hey, if you're a Notre Dame fan, you're going to struggle one way or the other.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yep, you can't win it. John, thanks for the call. If I get some merch up, I'm sending you a care package, my friend, okay?
Okay, bud. Keep up the good work. I love you.
Thank you. Have a good one, and enjoy the stress-free No Irish weekend. I know I will.
Yeah, I'm going to breathe a little bit Saturday.
There you go, man. Watch some other games with that blood pressure low, baby. I love it. Take care, John. Have a good weekend.
Okay, man. Yep,
See ya.
bye-bye.
I'm telling you what, man, that guy might be my surrogate grandfather from now on. I love that, man. Oh, let's see. We need a John 54574 South Bend. We're coming to you in a minute. Going to get to a couple chats. There's some phone lines open, folks. 312-900-8815. Kent says we need a John versus Kent shirt. I like that. There would be a very small amount of people who would get the bit, but for those who did, it would be hilarious. Line jumper, can't go easy on these fragile ND fans. They've been through a lot in 4 weeks. Line jumper, I got news for you. You could replace 4 weeks with 40 years, and that statement would still apply. All right. So you're talking about 4 weeks. I'm talking about 40 years, almost how old I am. Okay. The stress levels here in the Notre Dame worries. Ooh, Kent. Man, Kent, you know who ain't taking a bye week off? Kent, because look at that comment. Carr is not a lock, just like Keon Keeley. That hurts. Woo! Kent, can't you take it easy on the bye week? Man, look at you trying to get my people all worked up. Unbelievable. Greg Lisman Jr., 999 480. Beautiful. I don't see you up yet. Are you still dialing? Because if you are, there you go. 480. You're my hero. On the air. You donate $9.99. 574. You're next. Coming to you. 480. What's on your mind on the bye week?
Hey, what's going on, John? This is Greg in Arizona.
What's going on, man? What do you make of all this? Are you enjoying a low blood pressure week, or how are you looking at Notre Dame at the bye?
Well, man, the first thing is that the weather's changing. It's starting to feel good outside. I can let my windows down. I'm not sizzling out here in 113 degrees sunlight. So that's a good sign. That with the season changing, that means that I believe things are going to start smoothing out. And I believe, man, that, this was a great test for Marcus Freeman. I don't think any first-time coach could have had a greater test of, starting his head coaching tenure than Marcus Freeman and what he had to go through. I mean, let's go all the way back. Okay, a coach ups and leaves after having baked beans, ribs, and macaroni and cheese and turns around and says, I'm going to go to LSU. And then, and then on top of that, he's got to go around, savor the class. He does that for the most part. Then, kids decide and others decide, hey, this guy might have something to him that could very well help this program. And he, along, with the others, decided that it was a good mutual agreement to take on this job. And he did it. And here's my deal. I got some friends that are Irish fans and everything. We talked about it. And I said, let's just be honest. I really don't know if any other coach would have walked into a better scenario. I think that it would have been a rough start regardless of whoever took over, because regardless of it all, we would have been walking into a new system no matter who was the coach. A new coaching staff, no matter who is the coach.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is that the roster inherited was going to have the same major flaws, no matter who the next coach was. So Kelly was out, but it didn't. whoever it was. They weren't inheriting an established elite level quarterback where you just know you're off and running. Whoever it was knew they were inheriting a nightmare in the wide receiver room that was going to be an issue holding back the offense all year. And so, but man, that's where I have a hard time judging how good or bad Marcus has been doing, because how do you parse out the parts that are directly in his control and the other parts that aren't, but that are under his watch now? Cognitively, I've been having a hard time figuring all that out.
Absolutely. And, the biggest deal of it all, John, is that I believe that, man, this is actually great for our program because, we didn't start out with a soft team in our first game of the season and then got punched in the mouth in week 4 by, Ohio State or whatever. Like, we got punched in the mouth. We gave everything we had the first game, which showed us that we have some potential to really compete at a high level, even with a roster that was depleted. Okay. And then the next week, unfortunately, that was a learning curve because, I believe, and this is what I believe, is that everything was put so much on Ohio State in the offseason because that was the first game of the year that when we lost the game, it's like all the energy was out the room. And then Coach Freeman really, didn't have the wherewithal to kind of get them back on track in terms of preparing for Marshall, and because they thought it was going to be like a walk in the park, and it wasn't, and that was a learning curve. And so I think all these things, man, is going to very well help this program because, even right now they're saying that this week the coaches are out going after talking to QBs, for this class.
Yep, I saw that too. Yep.
I mean, here's the deal, man. Like, Freeman is stupid. I mean, everybody's asking, like, are we going to get a quarterback? This, that, no, blah, blah, blah. Listen, that man sits on the sideline. He's coaching these guys. He's in the room. He sees everything that is at a disadvantage for us. And he knows because he's coached at Ohio State. He's coached at Cincinnati. He's coached at these other programs. He knows what this program needs to be able to get to a level where we can compete with these top-tier teams. And he knows he's got to have a quarterback, that he can depend on, where if it comes down to it, the quarterback can make plays, okay? And so I believe, man, that in all this, I'm giving him a B. I'm giving him a B because I believe that he has really handled this adversity, man, so well.
And then the other thing is, man, here's the other thing we didn't even really get to yet. Even if everything went according to plan as smoothly as possible to start the year, you still don't exactly know what you would add at quarterback with Buckner. That was a question mark. Then this happened, right. Game 2. Like, Marcus has just had a lot on his plate, man. It's already Notre Dame, so everything's magnified. He's had a lot on his plate, and I struggle with Marshall because everything you said, but at the same time, I think the bottom line is no matter what, when you're Notre Dame, you can't lose to Marshall at home, no matter what.
I get that. I get that, but let me push back on you on that.
Okay.
Just a slight bit. I get Marshall. Okay. I get it's Marshall, and trust me, I was, it pissed me off to a high degree like no other.
Yep.
We lost to Marshall. But let me say this, man. College football is changing. The landscape of college football is changing. Okay. Recruits now, these 4 or 5-star guys don't have to go to Alabama to prove that they are a player or a game changer. They can go to Marshall or Bowling Green or Tulane or whatever and show that they got game to be able to get some draft stock, to get a look from a scout, and you got to think, man, the coach from Marshall comes out of Saban's backyard. So, I mean, with the transfer portal being what it is, NIL, like I told somebody last night, things are going to start leveling out, man, in terms of college football. Give it about 2 or 3 seasons, and you're going to start seeing a lot of teams, man, that we never thought would really be in the running for things are going to start being in the running.
But now let me ask you this, though. Hold on now. If we're going to do this, and that's where you see this all developing to in the sport, where does Notre Dame fit in that big picture mosaic then as a school that can't really be right on the line of NIL, of like bordering on pay for play, but it's not like Notre Dame's not going down that path, and I'm not advocating them to. That's not what they're going to do. The transfer thing, coming in and out undergrad, is harder at Notre Dame than other places because of academics and all that. So where is Notre Dame's place in this if the talent starts getting dispersed the way you're thinking? How does Notre Dame compete in that environment the way they're structured? Are they going to have to change? Do we get left behind? Out-recruit it? What do you do? What do you do?
I think, John, when it comes down to when the rubber meets the road, as much as Notre Dame is saying that they won't or they refuse to, when they start seeing that the talent that we are trying to go after, the bridge of it all is that we're going to have to spend some money, or we're going to have to create some like Prop 48 type situation again where we can get some of these players to keep the program at a standard where, because here's the deal, John. Beyond, Notre Dame is, my dad used to work at Notre Dame. My dad worked there for 9 years, man. He worked in the bookstore and all that kind of stuff, man. So I've been around Notre Dame since I was a kid. Like, I respect and value everything that the school stands for. But regardless of it all, when people think about Notre Dame, they don't think about academics more than they think about the football legacy that school carries and holds in the world, in college football. Because most people wouldn't even really probably even support or be a fandom of Notre Dame if it wasn't for football.
Right.
So I hope that the school understands and realizes that at some point there's going to have to be a realistic come to Jesus moment where they're going to have to make some changes. I'm not saying totally just like make the academics so easy to the point where any and everybody, and a mama can get in. But what I am saying is that if you got that kid that's on the brink of like being able to get in, but
give them a shot. Give them a shot.
Give them a shot, man.
Hey, you know who they did that to? You know who got a shot like that? Tony Rice. How'd that work out? Tony Rice. And not even on the field. I'm not even talking about on the field. Look at what a man Tony Rice turned into. He's a lovely human being and won a championship, and normally probably wouldn't have got a chance to go to Notre Dame. And then he went in. Like, that's what comes to my mind. And I thought Notre Dame was all about people's future and giving opportunity and all that kind of stuff. All right, then show a little faith and let some of these guys go get in there. And I say it all the time. Notre Dame would be a tiny private school near a lake in the middle of Indiana no one cared about if it wasn't for football. And I need the university to honor that and put it in a position to continue to succeed. It can't be where now that you have this huge endowment and you're known for academics and research and everything you do, that now football's secondary. No. You need to pay homage and do whatever it takes to keep the one thing you're known for and famous for in the forefront. I agree with you, and I love that you said that.
And you know what, John? I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna get off the phone. But one of the things I really respect about Marcus Freeman is that he likes to take the hard road in terms of challenging, as he always says, challenging everything. And when he came into Notre Dame, he challenged everything when it came to recruiting. There was an interview that he did with someone when Kelly was the coach, and he said, he would go to Kelly and tell him, "Hey, man, I got this 5-star linebacker or corner or whatever that I'm looking at." And he said Kelly said out of his own mouth, "Man, I would have never went that direction after that kid." So like Freeman said, there are kids out here that he has talked to and told them, you don't even realize it, but you are a Notre Dame kid, and you don't even realize it yet. Those are the type of players that we have to go after because, we've had opportunities that we could have went after some of these 5-star QBs like Bryce Young, who comes out of a Catholic institution, who could have got it to Notre Dame. He had the grades. He had everything. Caleb Williams from the USC. These guys knew about Notre Dame. They would have had an interest in even looking at Notre Dame, but because we didn't challenge everything and really attack to go after everything that was there on the table, we missed out on a potential field that could have helped this program.
Yeah,
so I think Marcus understands that, and he understands that nothing's going to come easy. But look at what he's done just by challenging what's out there, man. Yeah, we might have had some guys decommit, whatever the case may be. But, man, I'd rather a guy go after it all and lose some than not go after it at all and just miss out on a whole big opportunity, man. Because when things start really turning around, when we're winning some of these big games, the players and these recruits are going to see that this guy, is really trying to put them in position to win. And that's why he's going after recruit. That's why he's challenging his coaches. You got to go out here. You have to demand, excellence when it comes to, recruiting, when it comes to coaching and everything else. So, man, I really think, man, that Marcus Freeman is doing a great job at maintaining what he's been able to maintain in these 4 weeks. And I think, man, that this bye week, when we play BYU next week, that's going to be the turning curve in terms of, us really going on this streak. I really feel like the North Carolina game was a great game to leave out, with momentum, with this mindset that we actually can win. And not just win with our Harry Chin, but like win convincingly, So I'm looking forward to it, man. And I'm actually going to the game next Saturday. But I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to seeing the changing of the guard, when it comes to this program.
awesome. I really appreciate that, man. Really good call. Really good thoughts. Yeah, well said. And enjoy the game out in Vegas. Give me a call and let me know what the vibe is when you're out there that week. I'm serious. I want to know.
Will do, John. Thanks, man.
Beautiful. Thank you. Have a good day. Good call, man. He always has good calls. I appreciate that. All right, here, we're going to get back to the phone lines here. We got 574 and then 360, I believe. Yeah, 360. Those are the next two. James Thompson says, always Irish excuses. And I know what this was in regards to. This was in regards to me mentioning the NIL struggles Notre Dame is going to have because they don't write blank checks, dance around the line of what this should be and shouldn't be, pay for play versus, whatever. Notre Dame's not going to do that. I'm a believer they may still have Keeley and they may even have Dante Moore if NIL wasn't a thing at all. And maybe I'm wrong. You could disagree. I don't know for sure. I'm just saying it certainly didn't help to have guys interested or committed to Notre Dame and other people start flashing free money around. All right. But always Irish excuses. I hear this all the time. An excuse can also be like a fact. Like it could be a legitimate fact and an excuse. Like it's not a lie that it's hard to transfer into Notre Dame as an undergraduate because a lot of the classes and testing for these other universities doesn't allow you to cross over academically. They don't line up. That's just a fact. You can say it's an excuse, but it's a fact. Brian Kelly loves the fact that he went down to the Bayou and could instantly flip 24 guys from other schools, undergrad transfers, no issues with academics, come right into LSU and start flipping that roster, filling some of those gaps from before on the roster. You can't tell me that doesn't help. Okay? Think about the cushion you gain in recruiting when if you have a weak area of depth, you don't have to worry about academics and you could throw playing time around and get anybody else that's disgruntled or wants to go from anywhere else. Yes, they're excuses, but they're also true. They are excuses, but they are also factual hurdles Notre Dame has to deal with. So both of those are true at the exact same time. Okay? Exact same time. Kent says, ask me if I care who we pay. I don't care. Pay them. I get that. That's just not Notre Dame's deal, though. I understand that. I don't have a problem with it, but Notre Dame's just not going to do it the way these other teams are doing it. They're not. And the caller was talking about recruiting and kind of saying that he liked what he sees from Freeman in terms of that vision for recruiting. The first time I said Freeman needs to be the next coach was when he got the defensive coordinator job under Kelly. He was on campus 2 weeks. And I start getting messages from my contacts in compliance telling me that Marcus is overwhelming the entire recruiting office with paperwork, wanting to do things different, having all this stuff to do they've never been prepared for, didn't even have the staff to be able to do everything Marcus wanted to do. And that was only him being on the defensive side of the ball. And I had people going, everybody's flustered because no one knows how to handle how much volume Marcus wants to do in recruiting back work. All right? And that was 2 weeks into him as the defensive coordinator, I was getting those messages. So it's different. It isn't going to be easy, but it's different with Freeman. He has a different vision for all this, okay? He really does. Oh, let's see. 574, South Bend, Indiana, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Hear me?
Yeah.
I'm doing well. Hey, man, John, I enjoy your show, man. I've watched your show for a long time back when it was just a background screen and you had the talking points.
Oh, man, you go way back. You go way back,
yeah,
man.
Way back, brother.
That was people knew what I looked like so they could see me in public and point. Man, that was
exactly.
Man, there came a point where I had to go, I really feel like this would do better numbers if I show my face, but I also don't know if that's good for me in real life. But here I am.
Yeah, man, I just appreciate your evolution, man. I appreciate just the entertainment, the epic rants, the always being consistent with the show. And I just want to tell you, you're doing a good job, man, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. And like I say all the time, none of this would even be a thing without you guys. So, there is no show without people that want to watch it. So, but this is fun, man. I love talking about Notre Dame. There's nothing else I'd rather wake up and do. Good or bad, there's nothing I'd rather do.
That's right. Hey, John, I'm actually born and raised in South Bend. Right now I'm living in the DFW area, but I'm born and raised in South Bend. I went to John Adams High School. Been a Notre Dame fan for a long time. I was even selling programs, man, at the Bush Push game. Didn't know how big of a game it was. I was a kid, man, selling programs.
Oh my gosh. So, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you this.
Notre Dame fandom for a long time.
I'm telling you this. I'm only 37. Okay. So that I don't know what your age range is. I'm only 37. I'm going to tell you this. I have never felt the vibe anything close to the Bush Push game day weekend vibe I had that weekend.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I can't describe it to anyone. Like if you were at 88 Miami, 93 Florida State, fine, different time. Yeah. I get it. In my lifetime, the 70, 80, 90 home games I've been to, there is not one that even approaches the vibe. I have goosebumps talking about it. You could feel that something special was going to happen. It was unbelievable. Other than the ending, it was just an unbelievable weekend. I'll never forget it. Even the weather, man.
Yeah,
the weather. There wasn't even a cloud in the sky. You weren't hot. You weren't cold. Everything was perfect except for how it ended for us.
I agree, man. I remember going to school that week and basically everybody was talking about it back at school. I remember the day of the game before we had to wake up in the morning to go to sell the programs. everybody, no matter where you're at in the city, was tailgating or getting ready to tailgate for the game. It was just an awesome atmosphere for sure.
So, what do you make of where Notre Dame's at the bye? How do you think Marcus has navigated all this? Are you hopeful North Carolina was a turning point and we're kind of finding our sea legs here underneath us and things will stabilize and get better? Are you still nervous, wait and see, can't really be sure what you're going to get? Like, where are you at on a free week here?
Yeah, John, I'll tell you what, I'm frustrated, man, to be 100% honest. I'm frustrated because there's been so many times in Notre Dame's history where they've been so close to achieving greatness. I'm 30 years old, so since I've been alive. So just frustrated. I can remember, the great stud quarterbacks we had in Everett, Malik, Deshaun, and just how those years kind of just went sideways after a certain, I remember the man's high. I remember just so many times we have come so close to achieve greatness. And I think this coach here, Marcus Freeman, heading to the bye, he's the right man for the job, but it's just frustrated. We lose that opening game to Ohio State. Nobody pegged us to be that close, be 10-7 going to the end of the third quarter. No one thought that was going to happen for us. So you get like anxious for like, just, man, this is going to be a great season. You lose that game, everyone is still high on you. You go to Marshall comes to South Bend, and it's a big letdown, and it's just that frustration. That cycle continues. And but like I said, I think Marcus Freeman is the man for the job. His poise, the way he's handled it, even how he's talking to the media about this. We don't have a scared or a timid head coach here. We have somebody who seems like he's ready, to take on the challenge that is Notre Dame. And so I'm frustrated just by, we struggle with Cal. Kyler Buckner gets hurt. I'm just like, man, the amount of near greatness we achieved. I was high on Buckner at first. And then as I'm, continuously watching him play, I'm like, you know what? There's no history really that shows that he's going to be this, savior for Notre Dame,
And that's one of the, man, that's the issue. That's the biggest frustration with Tyler Buckner is his developmental track has been pushed back nonstop for all weird things that aren't necessarily anybody's fault. A COVID year, an injury year, then sitting as the backup to Cone, then losing the battle with the Stairs before Blue and Gold. Now he's injured. Like, now we're kicking this guy's development down the road 3 years or more. That's the ultimate frustration for the whole program, because I've been seeing people say Drake May is what Notre Dame fans wanted Tyler Buckner to be. And I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying he ain't out there enough to develop for me to see it. And that's a long-term frustration. And I feel really bad for Tyler himself. He wants to develop. It's just these things keep happening. It's just kind of frustrating for everybody involved. And then, like, the wide receiver room, man, it's like, yeah, I'm frustrated. What do you want Marcus to do? Magically prop up 5 good receivers? Like I want to be mad, but I'm like, it's not really Marcus's fault. We have
it's not his fault at all.
Man, that's frustrating though. But you're the head guy though. But also you're the head guy, and then we lost on Marshall, and I see you on the sidelines and I don't like it. So like, it's complicated. Like everything in Notre Dame land, it's complicated.
That's true. Like you even mentioned the wide receiver room, last year having Dell Alexander run that room, which was horrible, but then also losing Lawrence Keys. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, man, Marcus inherited, injury-prone Avery Davis, a Braden Lindsey who just isn't the guy. He's good. Don't get me wrong, Braden Lindsey a good player, fast, whatever. But just not having numbers there. We losing recruits. In that cycle where only Tobias Merriweather come in, and so it's like the odds were stacked against Marcus going into the year as far as recruiting was concerned in that wide receiver room. But I'm frustrated, but at the same time I'm hopeful, man, because I really do, just like that guy from Arizona said on your last call, I really do believe Freeman is the guy for the job. It's just a matter of going through these growing pains. Yeah, it looks bad now that he was the first Notre Dame head coach to go 0-3. but just imagine how sweet it would be if my guy brings home a national championship back on the South Bend. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's still hopeful because I really do think we hit it out the ballpark with this coaching hire. It's just a matter of going through these growing pains in order for him to get there.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's fair, man. I think that's a very, very fair position, the way you just stated it. Like, I don't think you're being contradictory or disingenuous to admit that both of these things could be real at the same time. You're frustrated with some of the things you've seen in Marshall, and you wanted things to look more put together, especially offensively, like we all do. But also understanding that there's a bigger vision in play here, and the wheels are in motion in that. And I believe in the way Freeman's structuring this and operating and recruiting, big picture. Like, you're going to lose guys and we're going to be mad, but big picture, recruiting's going to be an upgrade under Freeman. It just is, by the way he operates and the work he puts in and demands of his staff. Those are both true, man.
Yeah, I'm about to say, yeah.
You're you're being very fair on the bye week to have some frustrations, but also feel like in Marcus Freeman's tenure, the first few games isn't a big sample size. It's just all we have. Like, this is all fair and it's all true. It just depends on what lens you want to look through. Short-term, immediate, or bigger picture. And you could take different perspectives and they could all be true.
Yeah. And last thing I want to say before I go, man, I really think what's undersold is the fantastic coaching hires Marcus Freeman has already made. We were a little shaky on Al Golden. I know a lot of people didn't like him. But Al Golden's a dude. He is a dude when it comes to football in general, not just defense, but on offense as well. Although he didn't have success at Miami as a head coach, if you go back and look at those defensive numbers, the dude, he knew what he was doing. You get what I'm saying? Dylan McCullough, Chancey Stuckey, all these guys are all, albeit young.
Hey, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. You brought up a good point. I think entering this year and in this year, poor Chancey Stuckey has the toughest job on this staff right now because he has the least. Think about it. This poor guy came in with all that energy, good personality, coming from Baylor, good recruiter. That man has a lot on his plate because he knows that microscope. Everybody knows that group isn't good enough. It's not that poor guy's fault. He's only been there a few months, and everybody wants it to be better. Here's what I like about Stuckey. Obviously, his personality, number one. Marcus and him are on the same wavelength personality-wise, and I love that. Stuckey's a good teacher, and you're going to need a lot of that in the wide receiver room moving forward because when we get into the next recruiting cycle and the one after that, it's youth, and you're going to need those guys to play because of our depth issues there. There's going to be a lot of teaching going on, and I know that's a strength of Stuckey's. You're going to need that. Get these guys to be good blockers early in their careers. Like, you're going to need a lot of that. And I think he's up for it, but he has the toughest job of any assistant coach right now because he ain't working with nothing. My man's working with the bare cupboard.
I agree, man. Chancey Stuckey, man. But you even look at, Al Washington, who was the linebacker coach, I believe, for Ohio State last year. Dude, like the coaching hires that Freeman has put, it shows that he's not only a great recruiter, but he has a great eye for the game and for teaching the game by hiring these pieces. And so I really think those are going to pay dividends. Head coach is only as good as who he hires, and who he recruits. And we know he's a great recruiter. And I think these hiring decisions that he's made going to pay big dividends. It might not be quick like we want it, but it's going to pay off.
Yep. I agree with you. And I've been saying, and I said it through Marshall too, and Cal, even in a win, me being all mad and yelling and all, I'm going to do that when Notre Dame loses to Marshall, no matter what. I'm going to do that.
Right.
But I've been saying all that pain, the people that don't bail, that live through that frustration and all that, and my post-game call-in show yelling after Marshall and all of it. Anybody that's a Notre Dame fan living through all that, if we do make it on the back end and win playoff games and it's exciting, it's going to mean more to those people. If you ride out those bad times and take all those arrows, have all those scars. Don't bail. It's going to be more rewarding on the other end when we survive all this and end up being good again.
I agree. Hey, Ben, I appreciate it. Like I said, continue to do what you're doing, John. I love the show. The rants are, pure entertainment for me. So you got to have those at least 1 or 2 times a week, man.
Don't worry. There's always something on my radar. There's always something, man. I can crank one up. I'm only always 1 second away from one. But
hey, John, you have a good day, man.
You too, man. Hey, enjoy the bye week, man. Relax a little bit. It's good. It's good for the blood pressure. Good call, though. Thanks. Call again, man.
Yes, sir.
Take care. Oh, man, I like this vibe. It's a little more relaxed. Paul Conley, we're going 360. You're up next, and then 309. Paul says, John, do you ever visit the grotto when you go to Notre Dame? Every single time. Yeah, every single time. And I actually tell people this, and I said this on a show once before. Coolest experience I've ever had at the Notre Dame grotto. I was sleeping in line at the one game day ticket window where they don't even have game day tickets you can buy. But that one game day ticket window outside Notre Dame Stadium was for, like, if you have your tickets, but your dad's in a wheelchair and you have you and you're wheeling your dad in there. When you get to the game, you go to that line, turn in your 2 regular tickets, and they give you 2 handicap access ones on like a platform or a different way to get in and sit. Then those original tickets go up for sale at this ticket window, the game day window, at face value, because it's Notre Dame. They can't mark it up like a website. So what I would do is go there on a Friday afternoon, sleep on the sidewalk until that window opened the next morning before the game at like 11. And if you wait for enough handicap people or people with issues to go in there and swap their tickets, and you're in that line early enough, you're going to get them for face value. And you feel bad because it's like you don't want more people with ailments to be in the line, but the more of them there are that switch to tickets, the more likely it is you get in. I was doing that overnight for Bush Push. About 3, 4 in the morning, I was getting restless. Everybody was asleep in the line. I had my buddy guard the spot, went down to the grotto, and there was some old guy there in his 80s putting out the candles for the day of what was soon going to be Bush Push. And I helped this old man put all the candles out that were going to become everybody's prayers in a few hours when the sun came up. I'll never forget it. I talked to this old guy about Era and about Frank, and the guy was like, I could feel it in the air. Something's going to happen today. Like, that was my best grotto memory, helping that old man put out all of those candles that were going to be everybody's prayer. I'll never forget it. Never forget it. Angela knows. Angela knows. Angela knows more than most. Look at her name. Angela knows more than most my struggles in life. Okay. Oh, 360. You're my hero, and you're on the air too.
Good morning, John. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for the call. Thanks for the donations as well, my friend. Keeps the world spinning. I appreciate you. What's on your mind?
Hey, I have a question that I don't think I've heard come up yet. What do you think the NCAA announcing the expansion of the playoffs is going to, what effect do you think that's going to have on recruiting and everything? Because it seems like to me there's so much pressure year in and year out to win every single game. Because if you lose a game, unless you're, Alabama or something, you're out. What do you think that expanding, because the way the format is set up, they're going to take the major Power 5 conference winners, and then they're going to take the non-conference winners that are, really doing well, and they're going to put them all in the playoffs. So that pressure is kind of going to be off a lot of teams to win every single game. Do you think that's going to have any positive effect on recruiting or anything like that?
Well, Man, I've been thinking about this a lot and about the format of it and the positives and negatives for Notre Dame in the format. And it's like a part of me thinks because we're independent right now, you're never going to have that bye. So even if Notre Dame was undefeated, number one in the country, when we get to the postseason, the highest we could be is number 5, even though we're number one, number 5. And then we don't get the bye week for being a top seed. But what that means on the other end is, yeah, you would lose that bye, and that sucks because you can't lose a game unless you play one. But at the same time, that means you might get to host a home playoff game in December in cold South Bend, Indiana against a Southern team in that playoff. If you had to go that route, that is not the worst case scenario to have a warm weather team come to you in December for that home game. So I look at that dynamic, but here's the bigger picture. You're right. Notre Dame's not going to have to be perfect to make the playoff. I think Notre Dame at 10-2 can make the playoff almost every year in this format. How can that be bad for recruiting? If you could go 10-2, lose our 2 biggest games of the year and still be in the playoff, that's wild to me. From the whole life I've had at Notre Dame, where you lose one game, Notre Dame's pretty much done for the year. You may be able to lose 2 and still reach your dreams. That has to be encouraging for the entire operation, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I think that it's going to help. It's going to help with, I think it's going to help with recruiting too, because they're going to be able to lock in guys that, they have the potential now of not having to play for a team that's going to be absolutely perfect every season, because there's still the possibility that they can make the playoffs every year and play for the national championship.
And you know what it does give you?
I think it's hugely.
Yeah. You know what it gives you is it gives you a little bit more of a conference feel, like the appeal that if you're in the SEC and you win your division, you're going to play in that big game at the end of the year. This gives you more opportunities to play in the postseason. It's just totally interesting, man. It's wild to me to think of a Notre Dame situation where we could lose the number 1 and 2 marquee games on our schedule and still make the tournament to be the champion. That is wild, and it provides flexibility Notre Dame never had before, even if you don't get a bye, if you're undefeated or whatever. You got to be in it to win it, and Notre Dame should be in it almost every year in that format, right?
Right.
How could Notre Dame 10-2? Notre Dame should be in the top 12, right? Or am I missing something?
Well, I mean, that's my thought. Is that, I mean, they're gonna be pushing for the playoffs and the national championship every single year.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in that tournament almost every year, that is exciting. That is a heck of a recruiting pitch. Is like, hey, we're good enough. Exactly. We're almost in this every single year. And I just can't wrap my mind around the idea that it wouldn't end all of our dreams to lose the biggest game of the year in the regular season. So that's exciting to me. I do like the idea of having that first round game in South Bend in December. There's going to be a lot of teams in the playoff that are not going to like that. That is an advantage Notre Dame could use.
Right. Well, hey, John, I just wanted to call in real quick and ask, kind of pick your brain about that. I'm at work right now, so I got to keep it brief. So I'm going to jump off the line and let the next caller get in.
Beautiful, but really good question. I've been thinking about this a lot, and it's going to be interesting, but it does open up some flexibility from Notre Dame that we didn't see before. So thanks again for the call, the donation.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the bye week, man. It's stress-free relaxation till we go to the desert after that.
Absolutely. Well, thanks a lot, brother. Have a great day, and go Irish.
You too. Thanks for the call. Hopefully your boss didn't hear you talking about football on the company dime. You know what I'm saying? Joe says, I think that'll change. I don't think the 12-team format will survive. After a few years, they'll pare it down to 8. Here's a couple things with this. Number one is I was a little surprised they went ahead and confirmed the 12-team playoff format in the midst of all of these conference changes with USC joining the Big Ten and all that. And then in the middle of some of that, they went ahead and approved this new format that kind of surprises me. So I guess they can unapprove it and do something different if the landscape changes again. But I thought that was interesting that they went ahead and did that when I am not sure that everything that was going to move is done moving, not necessarily this year, but in the next couple years. So I was a little surprised to see they did that. Now, when you say you think after a few years they'll pare it down to 8, here's the issue with that. The issue with that is it's less money. It's less money. I'm not talking about competitive, what's best for the sport competitively. I'm not talking about that. It's money. And that's the issue. If you started out with 12 and then you have those extra games that you're making all the commercial revenue and the ticket revenue and all the stuff that comes with it, they're going to get used to that money. They're not going to go back to a situation where they make less. I just don't think that's going to happen. I really don't see it. And so I think once you go here, they're going to want more money, not less. And I just see that being the way. And it's all about that money. James says, if conferences go to 9 conference games, who are you going to play? Navy. You know my opinion. I don't want to play Navy now. I hate that game. I know that's not the point you were going for. I hate that game. I hate the way it looks. I hate the physical gameplay of it. The cut blocks. It's a uniquely physical game that Notre Dame always kind of has a physical hangover the next week. I just don't like that game. And I understand what they did for us in the war, and I understand that. I am not saying I disrespect the Naval Academy. I'm saying I don't like that gameplay. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Joe, I think that's what it comes down to, man. They're going for the money. And especially if you start it with 12 team money, you're not going to want to go back to 8, I don't think. But what I do think is interesting with this is, here's what I want to see. Is this going to be a situation where you end up expanding the playoff, but the same exact teams end up winning and dominating just as much? They just do it against more teams for more games. Or do you literally start to see where, as this goes along and more teams have their hat in the ring, eventually things happen where some of those teams do lose to teams we didn't think so, and it gets exciting in that NFL type way where you really don't know? Or is it just going to be Georgia's the 1 and then they play a 12 and they're just it's just blowouts nonstop all the way through? And then the other thing that's going to happen is, whenever that first upset comes in the new format playoff, whenever that comes and whatever it looks like, that's the justification then. Doesn't matter how many other games go blowout central. The first upset, and then everybody's going to go, this is why it's a good idea to expand the playoff. Because look at what happened. If we didn't expand it, this team could have never got this chance, and their dreams are coming true. That's all it takes to justify it, is one of those. That's it. Oh, boy. What else do we have here? Man, the first round games should be, things are changing, you guys. It blows my mind thinking of a home playoff game at Notre Dame Stadium in December. Like, it blows my mind. I've been there in late November. Some of those senior days that are like absolutely miserable. Cold, that lake effect wind, just brutal. You know what comes to mind? That Northwestern game a while ago, and it was really horrible weather, freezing, and we ended up fumbling, running out the clock, and losing to Northwestern. Just miserable, cold. I can't wait. Bring a Southern team up in the middle of that. I love it. Give me a blizzard. Give me a blizzard. Man, spend that NIL. Spend that money in NIL. Phew, I'm telling you. Notre Dame could set up, man, I have so many ideas for Notre Dame and NIL. You have no idea. It is the easiest problem to solve, the easiest thing to do. Like, I'll give you an example. What is it? Is he a cornerback? I forget what position, but that recruit, and his name is DeColdest. DeColdest Crawford, I believe, is his name. D-A' Coldest Crawford is his name. That's the recruit. His first name's DeColdest. He ends up getting an NIL deal with an air conditioning company, and his name is DeColdest. Man, that is what NIL is about. It's a perfect marriage. It makes perfect sense. You can see the angle. It's fun. It's cute. Everybody gets it. Beautiful. Let him, he's in the commercials. I'm DeColdest. Have them come fix your AC. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Like, man, I love that. Like, that's where you need to get. Notre Dame could do that. I would go into Chicago, the alumni network in Chicago, and you would end up seeing our quarterback on billboards in Chicago. You could do so many cool things. There's so many marketing agencies. These Notre Dame grads work in all these big companies in Chicago. I would leverage that Chicago Notre Dame relationship a lot. I would have a database going of, but feel free. I've already said this. Notre Dame should hire me to put this together, and it'd be the dream job of my life. Hire me to put together this huge alumni database of all the Notre Dame grads that are in these power positions at all these big time Fortune 500 companies. And you go down the list and you just start building these relationships. You find an angle. You learn what this guy's business is, and it's a Notre Dame grad in charge of it, so he has the control of what goes on. And you find ways to build these relationships. I appreciate that right now a lot of it is educational based and charity work based NIL stuff. I do love that. Obviously, that's a natural fit for Notre Dame, and I do think you need to have that be a part of it for Notre Dame to be able to stomach NIL at all. It has to involve education and giving back to the community. I'm totally fine with that, but I also need you to expand it a little bit. Get into that Chicago network where there's some big money out of South Bend and blow up a campaign for a young quarterback that's elite and put it on billboards in Chicago, and let's see what we do. I'm just telling you, I have ideas. I got ideas. Kent, where are we going? We're going on a road trip. Where are we going? Ken also says if Notre Dame wasn't so stubborn, maybe you'll flourish. I can't disagree with you. I mean, I can't disagree with you. I've said that all the time. Matt Miller says, also good seeing you on Twitter all the time, Matt. Thanks for being here. Kent, if there's ever a coach that could push change, I think Freeman's the guy. I'm telling you, there's already changes happening. And not everything could just happen overnight and it's instant. But there's already a lot of changes in recruiting and the structure of what that looks, the time frames of what it looks, the volume of how they go about it, all of it. All of it. I'll give you a really simple example. One of the chief complaints about the Kelly era recruiting, especially with quarterbacks, but not necessarily, would be you would end up learning Notre Dame doesn't get a recruit's commitment. And then you end up learning that Notre Dame was late to offer them, late to build relationships. They were already, juniors in high school before that relationship was built. And then it was too late. And then Kelly would say, I don't know if these guys are younger in high school. I don't know if they're going to have the test scores and grades to get into Notre Dame as upperclassmen. Why am I going to waste my time on allocating resources to recruit that player when I don't even know if they're going to be able to get into Notre Dame or not when they're that young in high school? That's how Kelly operated. But what happened is he ended up with a lot of guys that could have got into Notre Dame. But by the time Kelly realized it, it was too late to build a relationship, and then you're out. That's what was happening. Freeman is doing it different. Freeman's going after these guys earlier, saying, we are going to build the relationship, put in the extra work. And if the guy's grades aren't good enough, I guess we lost that one. And if they are, you're right in the mix because you've been on them 3 years. You have a relationship with them. You know them. It's different. So things are changing. I told you that whole recruiting operation had to be revamped the second Freeman showed up. Not even as head coach, as defense coordinator. He changed everything right away. We're going to go back to the phones. 269, you're on the byline.
John, what did I say? The Irish will kill in Chapel Hill.
I'm telling you, I like my little rhymes and my puns. That was pretty good by you, my friend, and it was accurate as the day is long. How do you feel on a bye week?
I feel pretty good. I'll tell you what, though, I'm going to have my pen and paper tomorrow evening for the BYU's game. It's a good scouting opportunity for us fans, and not having to worry about Notre Dame playing on Saturday and getting a good look at who we got coming up next.
Yeah, and I think somebody put in the chat, it might even be Kent, who everybody's ganging up against on the Ohio State fan in here, brought up, I think they were down a good wide receiver who's supposed to be coming back this week or against Notre Dame. And it's like we had that against North Carolina too, with Downs coming back off injury right in time to play Notre Dame. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. But I like these bye weeks, man. I get to enjoy all the weekend of football, but without the blood pressure spikes. It's good for me.
Right. And in my case, it keeps the significant other happy, not having to plan a Saturday around a football game.
Yep. And it's like, you know what? Let's go to that pumpkin patch. I'm going to give up these games today. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. Let's go get some of that cider. I don't need to do it this week. And then she finds out later we didn't even play at all. You're going to lose your credit.
Exactly. Yeah, but we're excited. So because we're going down next Friday morning for the game in Vegas. So we're going to be there. So we're going to be pretty excited. It's going to be it really is an interesting destination, knowing the culture of both universities. I mean,
I've said that too.
I like what we're doing, but would you disagree with that?
I thought that too, because it's the funniest thing to me.
And it's a two-sided thing too. It's not just one school or the other. It's really both of them.
But here's what I think, though. I think the Notre Dame people that are going to go to Vegas are going to go to have a damn good time. And I think you're going to find it's going to be like the Dublin Navy games where the Notre Dame people all find each other and then they all party together. And I see the Notre Dame contingent. The ones that want to go to Vegas are going to Vegas knowing we're going to Vegas and we're going to have a good time. I expect that to get fun. And all the Notre Dame people are going to find each other, and that's going to be really fun. What do the BYU people do? Go there and protest the gambling and the strip clubs and the drinking and what do they do? Because they're not allowed to do any of the fun stuff in Vegas, right?
Right.
Am I being mean? No, I don't know.
No. I mean, not really. It's just an interesting dynamic, and I'm curious. I'm just really curious how that game's going to play out, because the Shamrock. I don't know if you've ever been to one of the Shamrock games. but I went to the two in Chicago. I went to Boston, Indianapolis. I've been to a few.
Yep.
With like the outside location and the different uniforms, it feels like it's like different guys, like a different team almost. It doesn't feel the same. It really does feel different. And I'm interested to see how that all plays out in the venue. I don't know if other people have felt that way too, but it definitely is different.
Here's the way I think of it. Somebody in the chat says, if that happens, get another wife. Easier said than done. Easier said than done on that one. But that is pretty funny. Here's the way I look at it. It's just one more factor in the mix for you to have to consider and worry about when you're thinking about how a game's going to go. Is that fair? Like, I'm not always sure if it's good or bad, but it's one more thing I have to think about if it's going to impact the game one way or another or not. Notre Dame seems to be pretty good in the Shamrock Series games. I don't think they're scheduling them against the top team on the schedule, that kind of thing.
Right.
They've been interesting. Like, I was at the one at Soldier Field. The Miami one, 2012, Soldier Field. That was an experience. Yep. One, it was local. I didn't have to drive to South Bend. I'm already near Chicago. Easiest drive to a Notre Dame game of my life. And then I was able to buy beer the whole time. I was able to buy beer the whole game. It was like this luxury. I'm like, we're winning and I could drink in the open and celebrate. What's going on here? Because it was at an NFL stadium.
Yeah.
So that was fun. And then Indy. It was Purdue at Indy. What was that, 2014, 2015?
Yeah, this was when Golson was still there.
And that was interesting, too. I love that Indianapolis facility. I ended up I know a guy who worked at a liquor distribution, and he had season box, like a private box for the Colts and whatever happens there for clients. So we ended up in this luxury suite, private, like bathroom, an open bar. It was beautiful. That place is amazing. So I don't know what to make of it other than it is one more moving factor that I got to think about. Whether it's good, bad, or neutral, I don't know. But it's not a true road game, not a true home game. Anything different causes me to have to worry. It's a bullet point of worry. And I want to see how this team plays after Marcus's first bye. That is a big deal to me, to see how he prepares this team for a bye with a rough start but a little momentum. I'm very interested to see how we come out. Flat, heads on fire, what? I want to see.
Right. I think it's very dependent on hopefully they do a decent job of a self-scout during the bye week to kind of regroup on some of these things.
Yeah, I think I've had people debate me on whether having the bye right now is good or bad. Some people have said this is perfect because you have momentum. Now you could call timeout on game prep for 1 week, get a little healthier, and then take a deep breath, look at what you've done and kind of go from there. And you need this now, whatever. And other people are saying it's a bad time because now Notre Dame has a little momentum and we have to stop it. Which side of the coin do you fall on in that?
I fall on the good side because the way that I look at it is we have the first thing, we have 8 quarters of pretty much garbage. And then actually I would say 10 quarters of garbage. We have 6 quarters of quality content. I don't know if you would agree with that or not, but I think that that the way that the games have played out and the way that we're able to kind of analyze what's happened, it's a very easy stopping point to really pick apart the good from the bad very clearly, in my opinion. And I think that this, it's like you can get caught up in the same old week to week sort of situation where, it's like, yeah, we're playing off of 6 good quarters, but we have just enough bad stuff that has happened this year. We could easily get back into that sort of same routine, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Here's the one thing, though, that I think will prevent it ever reverting back to the early season really badness is, for whatever reason, apparently it did seem like the offensive line did actually need a couple weeks to gel or whatever. I hate it when people say that because it's like, you don't get a few weeks to gel. There's no preseason. Like, your time to gel can't cost you all your goals the first 2 weeks. So I have problems with that in theory because, there are no warm-ups. But I think that offensive line is settling in. And I think if that remains stable, you're not going to be as bad as what we saw against Marshall the rest of the year. Like, with that engine being decent, I don't think we're going to revert. I hope not. Maybe it was because Patterson was out and they had that. I don't know. But I think if that offensive line stays decent like it was against Carolina, it'll insulate us from reverting that bad. But I'm always open to it because I'm a Notre Dame fan. I'm always ready for something bad to drop on me, man. You got to prepare yourself.
Right, for sure.
Let me ask this. How do you grade Marcus Freeman, his first month as Notre Dame's head coach in the bye? I have a very hard time. It's complicated. How do you look at evaluating his job so far?
I think he's going to see. It's a pretty easy answer. I mean, I wouldn't call him, I think anything worse than that is a little unfair.
Yeah, because there's a lot of ingredients to consider, isn't there? There's a lot of angles.
Right. There is. And, I think that if it was the first 2 games, I think that it would be, D territory. But I think that it's a lot of the more intangible sort of metrics that I think are starting to come along now, that the talent and the scheme and the production are starting to come together with some of the more, almost culture based. This is how we're going to be as a program sort of stuff. People are kind of, the players are starting to kind of understand this more.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just, man, Marcus just had so much thrown on him right away. So many things to navigate, not all his own doing. And then the injury at the most important individual position in all of sports. Like, he's had a lot thrown on him. And at the same time, I'm like, no matter what, you can't lose to Marshall at home. Like, and so it's complicated. I have all these feelings. Like, there was just a lot of, he's navigating it, and he sees a way out too. Because I think the way he recruits, this talent level is just going to keep getting better. But I'm glad he got a big win against Carolina to put down some of the flames of he's never going to figure it out, in over his head, and now I know it, get rid of him. I'm glad I'm not seeing that anymore online.
Yeah. And, I don't know what, taking them back to the Vegas thing, just real quick. I don't know what the recruiting sort of invite situation looks like. But if I'm Marcus Freeman, any kid at Gorman that wants to come to the game, I'm saying, all right, here's your path.
Yep. And Marcus is on top of that. That's something that isn't going to slide by Chad Bauman and Marcus. No way. It's just, but what I really just had a hard time giving Marcus a fair grade because he's dealing with a lot of problems. Some of them are just bad football luck. Some of them are on
giving him incomplete.
Like some of them are on him and his new staff. Somebody has to answer for Marshall. You obviously didn't do a good job coaching to let that happen, so that's on them. But why our quarterback and wide receiver rooms are nowhere close to where they need to be nationally isn't on Freeman, but he has to deal with it now and make it better. So it's all very, very complicated. And I think the best thing you could do is just look for week-to-week indicators that the arrow's going in the right direction and the momentum, and get through this year and then get to where Marcus's own recruits are coming in here. And I think everything comes together. That's my long-term roadmap.
Yep. John, I'll leave you with this. Just one quick question for you. Do you think that Marcus is relying too much on his coordinators the first few games? I mean, I don't think he relies on Al Golden specifically so much, but I just question how much back and forth he has with Tommy Rees.
Yep.
And I know that, Tommy has struggled at times this year. And I wonder if that's partially due to the fact that, he doesn't have
and Al Golden,
John Lennon and McCartney sort of relationship where they can kind of ping ideas off of each other.
Yep. It's weird that you bring that up. I pre-recorded a video I'm going to post tonight or tomorrow looking at like bye week where we are. One of the bullet points on that show, I just recorded it last night. You nailed it. One of the questions I asked was, on defense, Marcus is a defensive guy. And so that's his comfort in history as a player and coach. And he has Al Golden, who's been around, seen it all, done it all. You could bounce ideas off of, he could come to you, whatever. But then on offense, who is it? Because Marcus isn't an offensive guy, and I don't see that older guy that is the Al Golden equivalent on offense. So it was kind of Tommy Rees doing it on his own because Harry doesn't have that personality. Harry manages Harry's part. So then Freeman's not an offensive guy. I do feel like it all went on to Rees, and it was like, the offense is you, figure it out. Then Rees hired these new offensive coaches. They're brand new to the program, so there's a feeling out process there. They're probably not the most vocal, taking charge when they're new. I do ask those questions. I do ask if that was a part of the early struggles the first couple weeks. And I also do say at the same time, what Rees drew up against North Carolina was gorgeous and it was executed beautifully, and I love it. It's all true.
Yep.
It's all true. That was a beautiful game plan against Carolina. It was what it had to be to win. It was great.
For sure.
Can I request something of you?
Yes.
I need you to check in with me from Vegas. Can you do that?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I will.
Like
I'll send you.
Yeah, either like whenever it is, either text me, call the show on the Friday or the Saturday morning. Like, I don't know what you're going to have going on, but I need you to check in with me. Give me that vibe. Let me know what's going on there. I want to know.
Will do.
Beautiful. Well, I really appreciate the call, man, and enjoy the bye. Yep. Do something nice with your significant other, and then we'll kick up the stress again next week.
Love it. All right, John, you take care.
You too, man. Hey, safe travels out to Vegas as well. All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.
Oh man, James. Woo. James, this is a good one. I'm going to have to answer this. James Thompson. Sometimes he trolls. Sometimes he's serious. Sometimes I think it's a troll and it's serious. I don't know. James says, this is a really good point. If Kelly was still your coach, would you be eliminated from the playoffs already? No. And the reason why is Kelly finds a way to win the Marshall game really ugly. And we saw this, folks. Ball State a couple years ago. Okay, same thing. Back home, ugly, early hot home game, play bad. Everybody hates it. You might lose to Ball State, but then you end up winning. And it's ugly. And John gets mad. My hair falls out and I yell about it, but we won. Toledo last year, same deal. Could have been a loss, same exact thing, but Kelly finds a way to win it ugly. And then John yells about it because it shouldn't be that ugly when you're playing Toledo or Ball State at home, but at least it's a win, and then we keep it moving, and then it's a game you kind of forget about in a few weeks. This one was different, and we lost it at home, and it became a big deal. No, Kelly would not have lost that game. He finds a way to win that game ugly. However, so no, we wouldn't be eliminated from the playoffs. But if Kelly made the playoff, Notre Dame has no chance of winning a playoff game under Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. So it's a give and a take. I have seen enough evidence and body of work from Brian Kelly in recruiting and big games to know the results were never going to change under Brian Kelly because Brian Kelly refused to change at Notre Dame. Brian Kelly refused to adapt to the way he recruits. And as a result, we were never going to have enough elite talent to win one of those playoff games. Nope. No. So, yeah, Kelly finds a way to beat Marshall, and we have one loss, and we're in the top 10, and we're talking about the playoff. But if we made it, we have no chance anyways. So it's all a big puzzle that ends up getting you right back where you started. I am supremely confident saying it didn't matter how much longer Brian Kelly was at Notre Dame. He was never changing how he recruited, and we were going to get the same big game results every time in the biggest moment. I'd just seen enough. And if I was told Kelly's changing the way he's recruiting at Notre Dame and he's going to get more involved earlier and do this and that and get more modern, maybe that would have provided a light at the end of the tunnel. Brian Kelly was not changing the way he was doing things at Notre Dame. Therefore, the big game results were never going to change. So, James, this is a really tricky question. Yes, I think Kelly wins the Marshall game. But there's no hope of winning anything bigger on the back end of the season either under Kelly. There is none. There is none. There is nothing in Brian Kelly's history at Notre Dame that would have suggested to anybody you're going to go in there and win a playoff game if you beat Marshall and end up lucking in the playoff with one loss. No freaking way. No way. Notre Dame would score negative points against Georgia with the way our offense has to be and no wide receivers. What are you going to do? Put that in a playoff? It's just tough, man. It's so tough. So, James, that's a really good question. And that's the fairest way I can answer it, man. Kelly definitely beats Marshall, but he also doesn't provide me the light at the end of the tunnel the Freeman era does because of his personality and delivery and effort in recruiting. That's the difference. And so I just hope it works out eventually. The troll Hunter says we've seen Kelly's ceiling and there's no championship involved in it. And troll Hunter, yeah, you're right. And you know who else saw Kelly's ceiling at Notre Dame and knew this? Brian Kelly. That's the other thing. It's like, John, what do you mean? How do you know? Brian Kelly knows it. It's exactly why he did what he did. Right? So, Kelly at his ceiling in Notre Dame, and that's just the way it is. All right, folks. We're going to wrap up a half hour early today so John can get some business done. Couple phone calls. Sorry, but I got things I need to tend to today. I thank everybody for being here. I'm going to come up with something good on a Friday too, so we can have a Friday fun day. I got a good idea for a topic to liven things up on a Friday without a game right ahead of us. So we'll do that. Everybody who called, thank you. Everybody in the chat, I appreciate you. There's no show without you guys. Donations keeps the phone line going, man. It isn't cheap to keep this number running. And again, everybody make sure you check out the Fighting Irish Wire link. See everything I'm writing and all the other local Notre Dame guys, okay? So thanks, everybody, for being here. We'll reconnect Friday on the live show, but I'm going to post some other content in between. Everybody have a good one. Take care. Enjoy the bye week. Let that blood pressure go back down to a normal level. Take care.